If that doesn't build a relationship, I don't know what will. So Charlie is going to talk a little bit about the Train Your Teacher project from the student's perspective.
So I've had the advantage of taking this 2 years in a row because how much I love Rizzuto. So beforehand, we obviously had to have some knowledge. He taught us like the different muscles and the different types and functions. And then he gave us like examples for like everyday life. And like it helped us to figure out what muscles to work out, like connected to the lifestyle that you actually live. We learned the equipment and we learned the exercises for the different functions. And then we had an interview. He gave us a list of general questions and we just asked them, it's kind of like what workouts you have right now, what injuries do you have so that we can like tailor to your injuries. And this just helped us create like the perfect workout plan for them. And then we wrote it out, tested the exercises, and we sort of just like thought out how we were going to explain it to the teachers. Relevance. So, in my opinion, almost everything we learn in school is not relevant at all, and we can't use it in the real world. And this is the only class where I can actually say, like, I'm going to use this outside of school. Also, because it's like important to know the correct way to work out. You could injure yourself somehow, and it's just important information to have. And it should be part of everyday life. And then, looking, student becomes a teacher. It sort of created this cool dynamic where like you became the teacher and like the teacher became the student. I think it's like the best way to actually learn something and conceptualize something, because not only do you have to like learn it, you then have to teach it to someone who has no idea about it, like it's totally new to them. And it really shows like how much you actually learned. And honestly, it was really fun to like kick their butts and make them work as hard as they make us work. And that's it.
Thank you. So Charlie, question.
Okay, because that gives us the opportunity to interact with our classmates in a physical and a competitive way. And because of the competitive nature, problems tend to present themselves more often than they would in a regular classroom setting. If TPSR is consistent and present, it can teach us ways in school and out of school to deal with conflicts. A classroom teacher will almost never take the time to focus on a social issue in the class. But in present, the problems can be worked out because teachers can construct entire units based upon TPSR. If it's not taught in physical education classroom, then chances are we will never learn it. And my personal story with this is my class last year, there were two cliques, upperclassmen and the younger kids. And there was a lot of tension always in the class because we didn't really get along. And we started a new unit, and I thought originally it was just like a project adventure unit, so we did a bunch of team building activities, and he put the two cliques on the side of the room, and then he split us up. So half the clique and half the clique was all in one team. So originally what I thought, I was just like a little upset. I just wanted to hang out with my friends. But looking back on it now, like I realized what he was doing, and I didn't really want to like hold hands and work together with the people that I didn't necessarily get along with originally, but in the end, we weren't best friends or anything, but we did get along by the end of the year.
Thanks, Nicole. So, the other piece of the effective domain that doesn't get spoken about often enough, in my opinion, is the cultural piece, right? You have kids from all different walks of life in your classes, so Sete had a very unique experience in a project that I had to do that he's going to talk about really quickly.
From my student perspective, son, my class had to watch a short video with a parent. This video contained 50 of the most influential and memorable sports plays in the last century or so. One clip that caught the attention of my mom and I was Diego Maradona's 2 goals against England in the semifinals of the 1986 World Cup. Being an Argentinian native, I've read stories all my life said that Argentina and England have been battling in the past for some time to it in the southern part of the Atlantic Ocean. Argentina saying it belonged to them and England claiming it was theirs. This goal not only meant a victory for Argentina, but it was as if the whole country scored along with Maradona. This project was significant to me for many reasons. One is that it sparked a conversation with my mom that I might not have ever had. Also, this taught me more about the country I came from and gave me a sense of national pride. This assignment fits perfectly into the physical education curriculum because without this project, so many kids that aren't sports fanatics won't be able to know about some of the most influential moments in the nation's history.
Thanks, Seth. So JoJo took part in that Do You Think Professional Athletes Make Too Much Money project, and she's going to talk about some of the elements of going through that project. Go ahead, JoJo.
So Mr. Rizzuto proposed this question to us last year, and whether or not athletes make too much money. I would say generally, the majority of my class thought that as long as athletes are athletic and just do service to others, then there's no big deal. It doesn't really matter how much they make. Revisiting it now, though, a year later, I think generally people would think that athletes do make too much money because we're selfish. But in my opinion, I think some people don't see the value in what athletes do. Like when they see a basketball game going on, it's just, oh, they're dribbling a ball down the court. Why do they make $9 million a year? Or they see a tennis player, oh, just hitting a ball over a net. What's the big deal, kind of. But those that do think that they make that amount of money is because they understand the service that they're doing, the amount of work it takes to get there. And if it were easy, then we'd all just become professional athletes, but it's not. And they understand the service that they're putting forth. During the assignment, I felt that this was a phys ed class and I shouldn't have to do any written work. But in retrospect, I realize now that I learned a lot, and it's a debate that you can have with anybody, any age, and I feel that it was important that we addressed it.
So how does the way you felt when it was assigned and now compare to how you feel when your English teacher gives you a research project?
Yes, it's about the same. When my teacher says, okay, you'll have a research day to do a week or something, before and during the assignment, I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do this. But it may not be the next day after, but a year or two after, I realized that, I'm happy that my teacher gave me this assignment because I know what I've learned. I understand what I've learned now. I didn't understand it at that point, but looking back, I really learned that.
All right, thank you. So Nick's going to talk about video analysis.
So basically my situation was I was a student on medical leave. I had surgery on my shoulder and I was going to be out for 4 months. So Mr. Rizzuto and I sat down and talked about things that I could do to help contribute to the class. And gym to me, without gym during the day, it slowed my days down. I was, just sitting in class. I couldn't participate in gym. So a few classes went by and Mr. Rizzuto discovered the Discovery class and Discovery app. And we did video analysis, and I worked with the students in my class, and I was able to help them. And we found that with this app, students who see their own mistakes can find those little details as opposed to Mr. Rizzuto getting up in class and showing somebody how to do a
I don't know like that.
well, going up, actually visualizing and seeing their mistakes, because on the app you're able to circle and point out, speed up and slow down. It again allows students to see their own mistakes, and I feel personally I was video analysis myself, and I felt that I could work on those little things that maximize my performance in the class.
Thanks, Nick. and compared and contrasted what streets used to look like to what they look like now and why that may be. So Maggie is going to talk a little bit about the Create a Game unit from her perspective.
What was easy? The Create a Game unit was different from anything that I've ever done in physical education. We learned about how to work our imaginations and fitness together. The directions for the unit were very general, which let our creativity pave the way. Mr. Rizzuto gave us no limit to what our game could entail or what materials we could use. So we had a lot of freedom to make our game just the way we wanted it. When you don't feel a lot of pressure from adults and teachers, it always makes the experience more fun for everyone. We had the opportunity to make our games in small groups. This made the unit a lot easier because we all bounced ideas off of each other. There were so many materials that we were able to use, so it was easy to picture how they could all fit into a new game. What was difficult? When you are given directions to create a game, automatically everyone thinks of games and sports that they already play. It was difficult to start with a clean slate and just try to create a game. We had to try to think of a game without using rules from games that already existed. We also had to try to think of a game and rules for it that we felt everyone in our class would agree with and enjoy to play. How we resolved these difficulties. We worked in small groups, but our peers that were in our groups didn't all necessarily have the same point of view or same ideas as us. Because of this, we all thought of different game ideas at home. When we all came together, we found a way to fit a piece of everybody's game into one master game. We all opened up our imaginations and let creativity lead us to our success in the Create a Game unit. Mr. Rizzuto stressed the use of creativity throughout the whole entire unit. He simply explained that if we use our imaginations, we can always create healthy, fun activities to do in our free time that even help us with our fitness. The Create a Game unit didn't only open up our imaginations during physical education, but it also helped with tasks and assignments and other classes as well.
Thanks, Maggie. So, real quick, I came back to school one year at the beginning of the school year, and some students from Maggie's group came up to me and said, Mr. Rizzuto, remember that silly game we made up with you? I said, yeah. He said, we played it all summer. Right? That's closing the activity gap. So Ryan's going to close the activity gap for us real quick.
Yeah, sure. So, becoming aware of the activity gap. I honestly thought that those 2,700 minutes that we get were tailored to cover the recommended amount of time that we need to play. And it turns out that gigantic amount of play is missed, and that is what the activity gap represents. It also turns out the CDC did a study, only 25% of those kids are actually getting the recommended amount. So the activity gap affects a large margin of students. There are a lot of things that I noticed that Mr. Rizzuto does in our class that kind of relate to what the activity gap is and how we can address it and hopefully close it. So taking a few minutes after class, that kind of has to do with the relevance, letting us understand that what we're doing is important, and the hopes that maybe that understanding will turn into some play outside of school. And then also making it kind of personal. Again, going back to Create a Game, making the games a lot more fun and what exactly the kid wants. Because you're more likely to play a game that is exactly what you want, and regular basketball rules is just an example. So yeah, that's the activity. Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.